Welcome to r/petty revenge, where a food thief pukes his guts out. Our next Reddit post is from You Keep This Love. It was a small business. A max of 10 people were in the office at the same time, so when someone was stealing food from the fridge, people noticed it fairly quickly. However, the thief was the owner's son. Now, the owner was known for nicking food, but at least he would pay you back. Sometimes. His son, who was about 20, did not, and was also a dick about it, and most of the people were getting fed up. So one day, I brought coloring liquid from home, which my wife used to make blue treats, cake, and ice cream for our kids. He was always stealing my dairy products, and I thought the blue would make it less appealing. I almost forgot about it until a coworker was fuming that someone had eaten almost all of her cottage cheese, and that she didn't have enough for herself. So I asked her if she was willing to sacrifice what was left, sprinkled a few blue drops in there, went to the culprit and said, "Dude, were you eating this? It's gone bad. You can't eat this. How did you not notice?" I could hardly finish my sentence because he threw up all over his desk and himself, violently for all to see. The blue spots in the leftovers I showed him did look rather dramatic. Our next Reddit post is from Workshop Joe. I'm a 42-year-old man, and my ex-wife is 44. We were married for almost 20 years. Over that time, she had 4 affairs of varying degrees, including a sexual relationship with a very close friend of mine from our church. I tried to make it work, and after the last emotional affair, I couldn't do it anymore. I filed for divorce just over 2 years ago. We're still going through the divorce, and she's been a high conflict the whole time. She's painted herself as a victim, and I go to a new church, but I still have some friends at my old one. I attended there for over 30 years. So my girlfriend and I have been dating since January. She's aware of my situation, and we're having fun. I have older kids, and she has younger kids. For Labor Day, we both had the day off and wanted to do something fun. I mentioned that my old church does a picnic every year at a park. There are games and activities for the kids and a big potluck barbecue. I told her my ex would likely be there, but it's a big event and we could keep to ourselves. I'd also be able to introduce my girlfriend to friends from my old church. My girlfriend made sure she was extra cute, that we had matching socks, and I wore a shirt that said, "Built for Conflict" on the back. We got to the barbecue. My girlfriend made a dessert to share, and I was grilling. My ex saw us and looked beside herself. She eventually came over, tapped my girlfriend on the shoulder and said, "I'm such and such, OP's wife." My girlfriend said, "Nice to meet you," and then held out her hand to shake my ex's hand. My ex then said, "It's awkward for you to be here, and I hope you feel that way." My girlfriend responded, "Okay," and my ex walked off. Later, my ex approached me and said, "This isn't your church anymore. I think you should leave." I said, "Not gonna happen," and kept walking. She went back to her friends, which were my old friends, and was just distraught. She eventually asked the pastor to ask me to leave. He's my best friend and was the best man at my wedding. He came and talked to me so that he could tell her that he did. I told him that she needed to grow up and that I wasn't leaving. He went back to my ex, and she was unhinged, trying to say that we had to leave. She tried to make it some spiritual thing. Eventually, she gave up and went to the friend that she had an affair with and his wife to be comforted. They're still friends. I don't get it. My girlfriend and I just watched and laughed. My ex has been terrible this whole time, and whatever control or narrative she thought she had was destroyed. Everyone watched as she just acted like a witch, and we smiled and waved. In the end, the kids had fun, we got to catch up with old friends, and my ex-wife got put in her place. It was a good day. Side note, my girlfriend is stunning, and several people just stopped with a dumbfounded look on their face when they saw her. It was such a flex to people who want to see me fail. Oh man, the real gem of this story is down in the comments. Sid Manley says, "Her pants came off with another married guy, yet she's the victim? Wow." And then OP replies, "It's actually insane. Our old friend group is aware of the affair, and they would rather keep the status quo than deal with reality. My ex-wife told the pastor, my friend, that I should leave the barbecue because I was in sin. That since me and her aren't legally divorced yet, she says that I'm committing adultery. You can't make this stuff up." Well, technically she is true. You are a married man sleeping with another woman. That being said, I don't think anyone with half a brain would actually think that OP is the butthole here, and not the 4-time cheater who actually started the whole thing. Our next Reddit post is from Wesselpump. This happened a couple of years ago when my wife and I were moving out of our previous apartment. So moving day comes, the landlord shows up, and we walk through the whole apartment with him to hand it over. Even though we had some minor complaints, in the end, he agrees to refund the deposit in full and we part on good terms. A couple of days pass, and we get a long, angry voicemail claiming he was renovating and noticed that the room that was my former office smells extremely bad, claiming that our cats urinated in there repeatedly and we would need to come back and renovate the room ourselves, or otherwise he'd get a health inspector, contractors, etc., all on our dime to fix it. And he means tearing down the wallpapers, replacing the wood flooring, painting the walls, etc. My wife and I are dumbfounded. We do have cats, so we don't dismiss it outright. But we realize that this is basically impossible, as I use the room every day and we had the apartment professionally cleaned before handing it back. And there's just no way that what he's describing was there when we left. Maybe it was a raccoon that got in during the days the apartment was empty or whatever, but it wasn't our fault either way. So we call him and let him know that we won't cover it, and he gets really nasty, making all kinds of claims about the state of the apartment, about how we would twist everything, and how he would make sure that we would pay for this. After 10 minutes of back and forth, I just hang up on him. Expecting a massive bill to arrive at any point after this left us anxious and really started to mess with our heads during this time. And of course, we don't get our deposit back either. Because of this whole ordeal and seeing my wife being worried about this all the time, I start to become really angry and dive a little deeper into our options. I discover that where we live, if a landlord doesn't formally claim a reason for holding back a deposit within 6 months of the end of the lease, they are by law required to refund it. So I figure that revenge is a dish best served cold, and we just need to wait it out for another 3 months or so, and after that, it's our turn. I calculate the exact date when the 6 months have passed, and 1 day later, just message him to please refund the deposit within 2 weeks. He just replies, yeah, sure, buddy. So we wait, no money comes, then we sent a formal letter setting a second deadline. Again, nothing happens. I was actually hoping for it at that point. So we hire an attorney and let her collect the money on our behalf. The landlord starts claiming all kinds of ridiculous damages, which would let him keep the deposit, which the attorney simply dismisses as the time for claims has passed. Then, for some reason, he pays only 80% or so of the amount due. So the attorney has to get at it again to get the full amount. Apparently, he's not realizing that all of this is incurring hourly costs for the attorney, which he also has to pay as he's legally liable to refund. So in the end, he pays us the full deposit, interest, and a massive bill for our lawyer, far higher than the deposit. Needless to say, we are very happy with the outcome. Once everything is settled, my wife and I just sat in our new home's garden, had a glass of wine, and burned the old rental agreement while planning how to spend the deposit. I know from reading lots and lots of revenge stories, and also from the comments of this post, that in a lot of states, landlords are liable for triple damages in these cases. So if they don't refund your $1,000 deposit, then you can get $3,000 back. So to all you renters out there, I strongly encourage you to read up on your local renters laws. Who knows, your current landlord might pay off a couple months' rent for your next apartment. Our next Reddit post is from Front Restaurant. My mom has self-diagnosed that I had developmental disorders and autism since I was 7. There were always books like Developmental Disorders Kids Learning Games and How to Take Care of Autistic Kids. I thought that was pretty weird because I was doing fine in school and I was taking good care of myself in my daily life. I got good grades, made friends, and even knew a ton of vocabulary for a second grader. Fast forward to when I was 17 when we went to an actual doctor who told her that wasn't true. But she didn't stop it. She kept telling me things like, you shouldn't go to vet school because you're autistic. You should listen to modern music because that's how you make friends. You and your brother suck at video games because you're autistic and have developmental disorders. When she brought up the garbage of you suck at video games because you have autism again, I started Elden Ring, handed her the controller and said, if you suck at this game, then you must have developmental disabilities. She couldn't even figure out how to jump or attack, even though I taught her so many times. She got so frustrated and started screaming. She hasn't dared to bring up this complete nonsense ever since. I like this top comment from Zoreb. You can always get her back by leaving books on early onset dementia and nursing home pamphlets around the house. And OP replies, I'm getting those books for her now. Also, this sounds like it might be Munchausen's by proxy, which is when someone says that another person in their life is sick because they like the attention. Our next Reddit post is from Canadian Skeptic, eh? This woman named Christine used to have my phone number 3 years ago. Clearly, she didn't want the baggage in her life to follow her to the new number. Debt collectors, old flames, male and female. She was prolific, if nothing else, and others. I can understand this, and Christine, I hope your new life is better today. Debt collectors gave up pretty quickly. I haven't heard from one of those for 2 years now. Some of the old flames were very persistent, but eventually gave up as well. The last call or text from her past lovers was a year ago. The big challenge was family, personal appointments, mostly text confirmation, why to confirm and to cancel, from doctors, hairdressers, nails, etc., and her employer. I still get the odd call or text from family that can't understand why Christine didn't share her new details. Sorry, I can't help you understand her motivations. As the calls and texts would come in, I explained that it's not her number anymore, so please get her to update her details. You know, normal stuff for someone changing their number. People will say, thanks, we'll get her to update. Over time, as this continued, I started getting frustrated. I cited HIPAA to medical and became a bit of a nuisance to others. That helped a bit, but largely there was no change. As personal appointments kept coming in more than a year later, enough was enough. I accepted the challenge of forcing change. I ignored confirmation messages until the day before when the last confirmation typically gets sent out. I canceled everything. Gynecologist, canceled. Hair appointment, canceled. Lawyer app, canceled. If they called to confirm, I said, sorry, Christine can't make it anymore. Slowly, Christine started changing her number. No one wants appointments they make getting canceled after waiting for weeks or months. Good luck getting an appointment in any reasonable time frame. The best was just over 1 year in, I get a text from her boss. He wanted her to come in early for a special meeting the next day. I did the only reasonable thing and politely quit for her. The next day, I get a very terse text from her boss saying how unprofessional, unkind, not funny, etc. my text was. My response was, get Christine to effing change her number. I then got a very expletive-filled text from Christine. My response, change your number or I'll keep canceling all your appointments. At that point, I don't think she had realized how her appointments were getting canceled. A second, even more expletive-filled text followed. I lulled in response. Guess what? No more personal appointments. Still the occasional family member though. How lazy can you be? The stories of people who inherit someone's obnoxious phone number are so funny to me because when someone else has your phone number, you're giving them motivation to hate you and the means by which to make your life miserable. So just update your number so you don't have to deal with psychopaths like OP. Dude, imagine losing your job and then not being able to pay rent or buy groceries because some guy texted I quit from your phone. Our next Reddit post is from Miscellaneous. Back in 2009, I was at a conference where I was introduced to a well-known, established man in the same field as me. Our mutual friend introduced me as someone with over 10 years of experience. I had recently completed a master's degree and was the only woman and the only person under 40 on a panel discussion at the conference. I extended my hand to shake his, and he turned away and sneered that he had more experience than I had years alive. I'd never met him before, and I have no idea why he held such animosity against me. Fast forward 15 years. I have a job in a large agency that hires contractors to complete some of our objectives that we lack capacity to do internally. The guy I met at the conference had been considered on several contracts, and I've told the story of his arrogance and how I won't work with him. He did not get those contracts. He likely has no idea, and maybe he wouldn't care. Still, it feels good. And down in the comments, we have a similar story from Back It Up with Links. I worked for the college that I was attending. I caught a coworker, another student, stealing goods donated for charity. She got suspended from school for a year, so graduated a year behind me. For revenge, she accused me of stuff that I didn't do. I was cleared of all of it, but it still made the rest of my school year hell. Fast forward a couple of years. I graduated and got a good job. I saw her come in and go to HR. After she left, I went to HR and asked if she applied for a job. They said yes and that her resume looked very good, so they were going to interview her. I asked them, if I have a reason that you should not hire her, would you want to know? They said yes, and I told them the whole story. She never got an interview. I wish she knew I was the reason. That was r/petty revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.